As life moves into the years beyond 80, one of the most painful and undeniable realities seniors face is the shrinking of social circles and the silent rise of loneliness. This stage of life brings with it changes that are subtle at first but grow louder with each passing year, changes that can slowly strip away the sense of connection that once held daily life together. In youth and middle age, people are surrounded by a network of friends, colleagues, neighbors, and extended family. There is constant interaction, laughter, invitations, and meaningful exchanges. But after crossing into the later decades, those circles begin to shrink almost invisibly, and the absence of connection becomes a defining challenge of old age. Loneliness in the 80s is not just about being physically alone. It's about the deep emotional and psychological isolation that comes from realizing that the world you once belonged to has shifted. Friends you once called daily may have already passed away, leaving behind memories and voids that can never be filled. Family members, though still loving, are often consumed by their own obligations, careers, and children. The once busy household may now echo with silence, with only rare visits or calls breaking the monotony. Seniors often describe this as a quiet emptiness, where even surrounded by people, the sense of belonging feels distant. One of the reasons loneliness intensifies at this age is the loss of shared history. In earlier years, conversations with friends or siblings are built on decades of shared jokes, struggles, and triumphs. When those individuals are no longer around, the ability to connect with others weakens because new relationships don't carry the same depth of memory. Younger generations may listen politely, but they cannot truly understand what it felt like to live through wars, economic crises, or even the small community rituals of decades past. This disconnect makes it harder for seniors to feel seen and understood, leaving them quietly adrift in a world that seems to have moved on without them. Health challenges also contribute significantly to this shrinking of social circles. By 80, many individuals face mobility issues, hearing loss, vision impairment, or chronic illness. Where once it was easy to walk down the street, visit a friend, or attend a community gathering, now even simple outings require effort, planning, or assistance. The physical barrier of not being able to leave the house freely creates social isolation. Invitations decline because others assume it will be difficult for the senior to join, and eventually, the phone rings less often. For those who once thrived on being part of social activities, clubs, or religious gatherings, this sudden isolation feels like being pushed into the background of society. Technology, though often praised for connecting people, does not always bridge the gap for seniors. While younger generations move their social interactions online, through social media, video calls, and messaging apps, many in their 80s feel left behind by this digital revolution. Even if they do try to learn, the lack of confidence or the fear of making mistakes creates a barrier. Watching grandchildren constantly engaged with screens can make a senior feel invisible, as if their slower pace of communication no longer has a place in the modern world. The result is an even deeper sense of being cut off from the very people they long to connect with. Loneliness in later life also carries physical consequences. Studies show that isolation is as harmful to health as smoking or obesity, increasing the risk of heart disease, dementia, and depression. The human brain and heart are wired for connection, and when that connection is missing, the body responds with stress, inflammation, and a weakening of the immune system. This creates a vicious cycle. Loneliness worsens health, poor health reduces social engagement, and reduced engagement deepens loneliness. Seniors often find themselves trapped in this loop, wishing for company but lacking the strength or opportunity to seek it out. The emotional weight of shrinking social circles can be crushing. For someone who has spent decades building a family, raising children, or working in a vibrant career, to suddenly feel irrelevant is a painful adjustment. Seniors may not want to burden their families with constant requests for attention, so they remain silent. They might watch the world through a window, seeing neighbors, children, or strangers rushing by with purpose, while their own days stretch long and empty. The realization that life has slowed down for them but not for others can deepen the sense of being left behind. There is also a subtle stigma attached to aging loneliness. Society tends to glorify independence and youth, leaving little space to openly discuss the struggles of old age. Seniors may feel ashamed to admit they are lonely, believing it makes them look weak or ungrateful. They may smile when visitors arrive, but when the door closes, the silence returns like a shadow. This hidden suffering makes loneliness even more dangerous, as it is not always visible to others until it has already taken a toll. Another dimension of shrinking social circles is the changing role within the family. In earlier years, seniors might have been the center of gatherings, decision-making, and family traditions. But as generations grow and dynamics shift, their role often reduces to that of an observer. They watch their children now lead the family, their grandchildren too busy to sit for long conversations, and their advice sought less frequently. This role reversal, though natural, can feel like a loss of identity, pushing them further into emotional solitude. Yet, within this brutal reality lies a hidden truth. Many seniors carry extraordinary resilience. While loneliness is heavy, some find strength in memories, in faith, in small routines, or even in rediscovering personal passions like reading, gardening, or writing. Others who do manage to join community groups or senior programs find solace in meeting peers who share their struggles. These little sparks of connection, though rare, prove how deeply human beings crave and cherish companionship, no matter their age. The shrinking of social circles and the rise of loneliness after 80 is not merely an individual issue but a societal one. It reflects how communities treat their elders and how families balance modern pressures with traditional bonds. The reality is brutal, but awareness can open pathways for change. Recognizing this loneliness, speaking about it openly, and creating intentional spaces for seniors to connect can transform the experience of aging. Otherwise, many will continue to sit in silence, unseen and unheard, carrying the weight of a world that once revolved around them but now passes them by. Crossing into life after 80, one of the heaviest realities seniors must come to terms with is the struggle with health and physical limitations. The body that once carried them with strength and resilience begins to show signs of fragility, and the very activities that were once natural now demand effort, patience, and sometimes outside help. These changes are not only physical but also emotional, because the decline in health represents a loss of independence and control over daily living. For someone who has spent decades working, raising families, and actively participating in life, the transition into dependence can be one of the most challenging adjustments of aging. The process begins slowly. A small ache in the knees that doesn't go away, a shortness of breath when climbing stairs, a sudden need to rest after simple chores. These signals are often dismissed at first. But over time, the accumulation of these small changes becomes undeniable. Arthritis makes movements stiff and painful, reducing the ability to cook, clean, or even hold a pen with ease. Vision loss makes reading, driving, or recognizing faces difficult. Hearing decline isolates seniors from conversations, forcing them to ask others to repeat themselves or making them withdraw from social gatherings altogether. With each limitation, the world becomes smaller, and the sense of freedom that once defined life diminishes. Falls are one of the greatest fears at this stage of life. Balance issues and weakened bones make walking across a room or stepping outside feel like a risk. A single fall can lead to fractures, hospitalization, or long recovery periods, leaving a lasting fear that discourages movement altogether. Seniors may restrict themselves to a chair or bed not only because of pain but also because of the constant worry that any attempt to move freely could result in injury. This fear accelerates physical decline, as muscles weaken from disuse, further deepening the cycle of fragility. Chronic illnesses also dominate life after 80. Conditions like heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, osteoporosis, and dementia often coexist, requiring multiple medications and regular doctor visits. The body no longer recovers quickly from infections or minor illnesses, and something as simple as a cold can become dangerous. Many seniors find themselves juggling a long list of pills, keeping track of strict schedules, and dealing with side effects that sap energy and appetite. Instead of planning trips or family events, much of their schedule revolves around healthcare routines, making life feel like a constant medical battle. The decline of physical abilities is not just about medical conditions, it directly impacts independence. Tasks that were once second nature, like bathing, dressing, or preparing meals, may now require assistance. The act of asking someone for help with personal needs can feel humiliating for a person who has lived proudly self-sufficient for decades. Dependence on caregivers, whether family or professionals, is a painful reminder that the body is no longer reliable. Many seniors struggle internally with the feeling of being a burden, even when their loved ones are willing to help. This sense of guilt deepens emotional suffering and creates reluctance to express needs openly. Mobility challenges also restrict access to the outside world. A senior who once loved walking in the park or visiting friends may no longer have the stamina or strength to leave home. Public spaces that are not senior-friendly, stairs without railings, uneven pavements, or inaccessible bathrooms, become daunting barriers. Even driving, which symbolizes freedom, is often taken away due to slower reflexes or failing eyesight. Losing the ability to drive marks a major turning point, as it confines seniors to their homes and makes them dependent on others for the simplest outings like shopping or attending appointments. The mental toll of these health struggles is just as heavy as the physical. To live in a body that no longer responds as it once did creates frustration, grief, and even anger. Seniors often mourn the loss of their former selves, remembering the days they were strong, active, and in control. This emotional pain is intensified when they see younger people moving freely, doing the things they once did effortlessly. They may smile outwardly but carry an inner sadness at the contrast between their past vitality and their present frailty. At the same time, health challenges can erode self-worth. In societies that value productivity, beauty, and speed, seniors may feel invisible because they can no longer perform at those levels. Struggling to climb stairs or hold a conversation without repeating oneself can make them feel out of place in a world that rushes forward without pause. This sense of inadequacy contributes to loneliness, as many prefer to withdraw rather than highlight their limitations in front of others. Despite these harsh realities, many seniors show remarkable resilience in facing health challenges. They adapt by finding new ways to do old tasks, whether through assistive devices like walkers, hearing aids, or magnifying glasses. Some take comfort in routines, gentle exercises, or therapies that keep them active within their limits. Others draw strength from spiritual faith or the support of loved ones who remind them that their worth is not tied to physical ability alone. Small victories, like being able to walk a few steps unassisted or prepare a meal independently, are celebrated as milestones, showing the determination to preserve dignity and independence. Communities and families also play a crucial role in easing these struggles. Accessible infrastructure, senior fitness programs, and compassionate caregiving can make the difference between a life of confinement and one of continued participation. When seniors are given the chance to move at their own pace, with encouragement rather than pity, they often find the courage to remain engaged despite their limitations. Simple gestures, like offering an arm for support, listening patiently, or respecting their need for autonomy, restore confidence and ease the heavy burden of decline. Life after 80 is undeniably shaped by health struggles and physical limitations, but it is not defined entirely by them. While the body may weaken, the human spirit often proves stronger than expected. Seniors who embrace adaptation, seek support, and focus on what they can still do often find ways to maintain meaning and joy. Yet, the reality remains that these health battles are a daily part of aging, stripping away independence and freedom in ways that are both visible and invisible. To truly understand the aging experience, one must see beyond the medical charts and recognize the silent courage it takes to face each day in a body that no longer obeys as it once did. One of the most difficult realities seniors face after crossing 80 is the constant pressure of financial insecurity and dependence. At this stage of life, most people are no longer working, which means they rely on pensions, savings, or the support of family members. While younger generations often believe retirement is a period of rest and comfort, the truth is much harsher for many seniors who discover that their resources are not enough to meet the rising demands of aging. The cost of healthcare, daily living expenses, and inflation steadily erode whatever financial cushion they may have built during their working years, leaving them vulnerable and anxious about the future. Financial insecurity at this age often begins with the transition from active income to fixed income. During working years, money is replenished through salaries, bonuses, or business profits, but after retirement, seniors often depend on savings or government pensions, which are rarely sufficient. Inflation diminishes the value of money, and expenses continue to grow, especially when health issues multiply. What once seemed like a comfortable amount of savings can feel like a drop in the ocean when faced with hospital bills, costly medicines, and the need for specialized care. Seniors are forced to stretch every rupee or dollar, prioritizing essentials while letting go of small pleasures they once enjoyed. Medical expenses are perhaps the most significant financial burden after 80. Chronic conditions such as heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, and dementia often require continuous treatment, regular checkups, and costly medications. Insurance, if available, may not cover all the expenses, especially when it comes to long-term care, mobility aids, or home modifications like ramps and safety rails. For many, a single hospitalization can wipe out years of savings, pushing them into debt or forcing them to rely on children. The constant worry of, "What if I fall sick again?" becomes a shadow over every financial decision, making seniors hesitant to spend even on basic comforts. Daily living costs also do not decrease with age. Food, utility bills, transportation, and housing remain constant, and in some cases, they increase. Seniors who require caregivers, domestic help, or nursing assistance face an additional layer of expenses. Those living alone may need to pay for services they once did themselves, from grocery delivery to minor home repairs. The accumulation of these costs steadily drains resources, leaving little room for emergencies. In many cases, seniors find themselves forced to choose between medication and other essentials, a choice that carries painful consequences. Dependence on family members becomes a sensitive and complex issue. In cultures where children are expected to support their parents, many seniors live with the hope that their sons or daughters will take care of them. While some families fulfill this duty with love, others struggle under financial pressures of their own, leading to tension and feelings of guilt on both sides. Seniors may hesitate to ask for money, fearing they are burdening their children, but without asking, they cannot meet their needs. This dependence erodes self-esteem, especially for those who spent a lifetime providing for their families. The role reversal, though natural, feels deeply uncomfortable for many, as it symbolizes the loss of control over their own lives. Financial insecurity also limits social participation. Seniors who cannot afford outings, travel, or even small leisure activities often withdraw from social circles, adding to their loneliness. They may decline invitations or avoid gatherings because they feel ashamed of not being able to contribute or keep up with expenses. Even something as simple as gifting on family occasions or helping grandchildren with school fees becomes impossible, leaving them with a sense of inadequacy. The inability to play an active role in family and community life due to financial constraints weighs heavily on their dignity. The psychological impact of financial struggle is profound. Seniors who spent decades saving and planning for retirement often feel betrayed when they realize their plans were not enough. Watching their hard-earned savings vanish due to medical emergencies or the rising cost of living can lead to anxiety, depression, and sleepless nights. The fear of outliving their savings is very real, especially as life expectancy increases. Many ask themselves haunting questions: will my money last as long as I do? What will happen if I need expensive care? Who will take care of me if I can't afford it? These thoughts create a constant undercurrent of stress in what should be their most peaceful years. Those who do not have children or close family members face an even harsher reality. Without someone to rely on, they must depend on government assistance, charities, or community programs, which are often insufficient. The sense of vulnerability is magnified when there is no safety net, and the fear of falling into poverty or being left without proper care becomes overwhelming. For seniors in such circumstances, financial insecurity translates directly into insecurity about survival itself. In some societies, older people are even exploited financially. Unscrupulous relatives, scammers, or even caregivers may take advantage of their vulnerability, draining their accounts or manipulating them into handing over assets. Fear of being cheated adds another layer of stress, making seniors wary of trusting others. Sadly, financial abuse of the elderly is more common than most people realize, and its effects are devastating, stripping away not just money but also trust and dignity. Yet, despite these struggles, many seniors find ways to cope. They learn to live with less, adapt to modest lifestyles, and take pride in their ability to stretch resources creatively. Some take solace in the non-material aspects of life, focusing on relationships, spiritual fulfillment, and simple joys. Others rely on community support systems, religious organizations, or senior groups that provide companionship and small forms of assistance. These coping mechanisms cannot erase financial insecurity but can soften its emotional impact, offering moments of dignity and relief. Financial insecurity and dependence after 80 is not merely about the loss of money. It is about the loss of freedom, dignity, and the power to make choices. To not have enough resources means being forced to rely on others for survival, which challenges the very sense of identity built over a lifetime. While some seniors manage with grace, the struggle is brutal for many, leaving them vulnerable to both economic and emotional hardship. The true test of society lies in how it supports its elders through these years, whether by providing stronger financial safety nets, affordable health care, or systems that preserve dignity. Without such support, the final years of life can become a constant balancing act of survival, overshadowing the peace and respect every human deserves in old age. One of the most profound challenges that seniors face after crossing 80 is the emotional battle with relevance and self-worth. This struggle is often hidden behind quiet smiles, polite conversation, or a stoic demeanor, but inside, many older adults wrestle daily with feelings of invisibility, loss, and the fear that their lives no longer matter in a world that has moved forward without them. Unlike physical or financial challenges, which are often tangible and can be addressed with assistance, emotional struggles are internal, deeply personal, and can quietly erode the joy of life if left unacknowledged. The sense of relevance begins to shift as seniors observe how the world interacts with them. In earlier years, they were active participants in work, family, and community life. Their voices were heard, their contributions valued, and their presence felt. After 80, the landscape changes. Children are busy with their own families and careers, friends may have passed away, and social or professional circles have often dwindled. The conversations that once centered around them become about younger generations, new technologies, or societal trends they may not fully relate to. Even the act of offering advice or sharing wisdom can feel ignored or dismissed. For many, this transition is painful, leaving them with a haunting sense that their life experience is no longer appreciated. The loss of professional identity is particularly significant for those who spent decades in careers that defined much of their self-image. People who were once leaders, mentors, or innovators find that their opinions are no longer sought, their skills no longer in demand. Retirement, once envisioned as a reward and a time of leisure, can instead feel like invisibility. Seniors may struggle with the idea that after contributing so much over a lifetime, their accumulated knowledge and experience seem to have little practical value in the eyes of the modern world. This perceived irrelevance feeds directly into feelings of diminished self-worth. Family dynamics also play a crucial role in shaping a senior's sense of relevance. In traditional households, elders were often central figures, decision-makers, and respected advisors. Today, the shift toward nuclear families and busy lifestyles has altered this dynamic. Grandparents may be seen as caregivers occasionally needed for help with grandchildren rather than as holders of wisdom and guidance. Even in loving families, the natural busyness of younger generations can leave seniors feeling overlooked. This is not necessarily neglect, but the emotional impact is real. Feeling like a background character in one's own family story can foster sadness, frustration, and sometimes resentment. Physical decline compounds emotional struggles. When seniors lose mobility or require assistance, the independence that gave them confidence and purpose diminishes. Tasks they once performed effortlessly, like cooking, driving, or maintaining a home, now require help. This reliance can make them feel burdensome, and in turn, reduce their perceived value in the family or society. They may avoid asking for help, endure difficulties silently, or withdraw from activities altogether, further isolating themselves and reinforcing feelings of irrelevance. Social invisibility also affects self-worth. In a world that often prioritizes youth, speed, and productivity, the elderly can feel overlooked. Advertisements, media representations, and cultural narratives rarely celebrate those over 80 as active or influential. Seniors may notice that their opinions are rarely solicited in community or social settings, and younger individuals may unconsciously dismiss their experiences. This societal disregard is subtle but insidious, reinforcing the internalized belief that one's contributions no longer matter. Even those with active social lives may sense a gap between their desire to participate and society's willingness to include them fully. The emotional impact of this perceived irrelevance can be severe. Many seniors experience depression, anxiety, or chronic sadness as they grapple with the idea that their existence is no longer acknowledged meaningfully. Some may feel invisible, like a shadow moving quietly through a world that pays little attention. Others may experience regret, questioning life choices or feeling guilt over perceived failures. Emotional well-being at this age is tightly linked to the feeling of being valued. When that feeling diminishes, the sense of purpose and joy in life can decline as well. Despite these challenges, many seniors find ways to reclaim a sense of relevance and self-worth. They engage in mentorship, sharing their knowledge with younger generations through storytelling, volunteering, or community service. Even small acts, like offering advice to grandchildren or participating in local cultural or religious activities, can reignite the feeling of being needed and respected. Connection, recognition, and respect from others play an enormous role in countering emotional struggles, highlighting the importance of relationships and social inclusion for seniors. The internal battle is also psychological. Seniors must navigate the delicate balance between accepting the limitations of age and asserting their value. Some develop resilience by focusing on what they can still do: hobbies, spiritual practices, reading, or creative expression, rather than dwelling on what has been lost. Others cultivate gratitude for family visits, simple routines, or personal achievements that are often overlooked but hold deep personal meaning. This internal reframing allows many to maintain dignity and purpose even in the face of societal neglect or physical decline. Emotional struggles over relevance and self-worth are further influenced by the broader culture. In societies that revere elders, provide platforms for their voices, and encourage intergenerational interaction, seniors often retain a stronger sense of identity and purpose. Where society sidelines older adults, the impact is far harsher. The emotional toll is compounded when loneliness, health challenges, and financial insecurity are also present, creating a perfect storm that can severely diminish the quality of life. The key to navigating this emotional battle is connection, recognition, and meaningful engagement. Families that include seniors in decision-making, conversations, and celebrations help restore a sense of value. Communities that provide programs, clubs, and volunteer opportunities allow seniors to contribute meaningfully, reaffirming that their experience and wisdom are assets. Even small gestures of acknowledgement, a phone call, a visit, or listening with genuine attention, can make an enormous difference. These acts convey that life after 80 is still significant, that seniors' voices matter, and that they are not forgotten. Ultimately, the emotional battles over relevance and self-worth after 80 are as complex as they are profound. They touch every aspect of a senior's life, from personal identity to family dynamics, societal perception, and mental health. While the challenges are harsh and unavoidable, many seniors demonstrate remarkable resilience, finding meaning, pride, and purpose despite the limitations of age. These struggles highlight the need for awareness, empathy, and support from family, community, and society at large, ensuring that those in their later decades can live with dignity, recognition, and a sense that their life still matters deeply.